Do they? So competing currencies, which again are popping up all over the place. And I think the thing that came to me as we were listening to that clip is that ultimately when everybody realizes that we can make our own food, money, and media, well, there you go. On down the econocrash updates, half of us, being the big U.S., have less than $2,000 banked for retirement. Of Goats and Men has a nice little screen grab of the S&P stock market chart where you can watch it in real time dive as Ben Bernanke, head of the fraudulent, neither federal, no reserve. When Bernanke talks, people listen. Where he was talking about, of course, depressions and bad outcomes and all their semantic games about, again, fiat money, funny money, Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes. We noted on the B-side episode in the food bubble that, of course, as Goldman had to pay back the largest bank fine in history, they made it back in after-hours trading in a day. More on that from allgov.com, and again, their connection to the food bubble. Obama signs sweeping financial overhaul into law. This would be the Dodd-Frank monstrosity that will do nothing. And again, the analogies we use, because they're so pertinent, they're like junkies that need a fix bigger and bigger and bigger each time of this fake money. Need more zeros and ones. And the banks play Don't Throw Me Into the Briar Patch. Now, this is from the Associated Press, and you got to get a load of this, just in the language of the article. Reveling over a new milestone in his presidency, a triumphant Barack Obama on Wednesday signed into law the most sweeping overhaul of lending and high finance rules since the Great Depression, adding safeguards for millions of consumers and aiming to restrain Wall Street excesses that could set off a new recession. These new rules, however, are only at a midpoint. Banking and market regulators will have up to 2 years to write many of the new regulations required by law, extending uncertainty and ushering in a new phase of lobbying by financial firms. Regulators will have to be vigilant, Obama-Saya says. More on that from tarpley.net. The president sought to quell public anger over the $700 billion bank rescue the government created at the height of the crisis to reassure the markets. Now, of course, as we get lost in the phony left-right paradigm and the bread and circus and the talking heads and the corporate-controlled structures, and we watch these shadows on the wall and the shell games be played, if you'll recall, it was Bush, the previous puppet, that forced through this TARP. Obama was just there as the already coronated one to make sure he got all his Congress cronies in line, and they, of course, fell in line because they knew, hey, he's going to be the new boss. It was a seamless handoff. The law gives regulators new authority to liquidate large, interconnected financial firms that are failing. Because of this law, the American people will never be asked again to foot the bill for Wall Street's mistakes. There will be no more tax-funded bailouts, period. Obama said, quote, "There will be no more tax-funded bailouts, period," end quote. Read my lips. No new taxes. I did not have sex with that woman. I'm not a crook. I was just following orders. And all your favorite hits throughout history as our frontmen, puppet men, move the agenda along for the unseen hands and the invisible, sinister forces behind the scenes. We don't believe that the Illuminati pulls every string and makes every single thing happen, but when you dig and pull on the thread and pull back the curtain, you will find these connections. So we'll see if that audacious quote surrounding this ridiculous legislation, we'll add that to the greatest hits list of Obama-Messiah. The scariest unemployment graph I've seen yet is from theatlantic.com, and it starts at 1965 and goes up past 2010, and it's an amazing, huge arc. I can't tell you the percentage, but you can see the graph. It's all embedded, all shared for you. We laughed a few moments ago about the 700 bailout, but let's hop to Reuters from July 21st. U.S. financial bailout figure hits $3.7 trillion. Increased housing commitments swelled U.S. taxpayer infusions into the nation's financial system by $700 billion in the past year to around $3.7 trillion. The Special Inspector General for the TARP, Troubled Asset Relief Program, said the increase was largely due to the government's pledges to supply capital to Fannie and Freddie and guarantee more mortgages to support the housing market. $700 billion is now they're admitting $3.7 trillion, and I believe we know that it's much larger than that, unfortunately. The last couple econocrash notes here for you. On shtfplan.com, I always struggle with that URL. Shit hit the fan plan.com. Prominent hedge fund managers, Idaho Ranch. It would be a place you could hole up in. And we tie in all the other elite rats sensing what's going on as the deck chairs are being moved on the Hindenburg or the Titanic, and the band plays on, and we watch LeBron and Lindsay Lohan and all the other celebrity America's Got blank fluff. They're bailing out. Our last note will end on a somewhat humorous note to all of this, and again, it can't all be constant gloom and doom. We kind of have to laugh and see the amazement in some things. I subscribe to a few of the, news of the weird, strange news RSS feeds. ClickToHouston.com always gives me some good ones. Darth Vader robs New York Bank. He was in a poorly put together Darth Vader outfit with camouflage pants and silly things like that. But again, it's interesting to see the memes. And as long as we can see, it's been the banksters versus the people. And that's what seems to go on and on and on.